Okay, so I just bought the new Amulet of Torture, which I'm probably going to sell back pretty soon, I think, but bought it for 15.5 mil, and I think it's actually going up in price right now because they reached as low as 12.4 mil according to OSBuddy, and now it seems like they're rising pretty quickly, so I'll probably actually hold on to it until it drops down in price. And I did buy some Dragon Axes also. I haven't banked all of them because actually those started rising in price too, but banked almost all the Dragon Axes I need for 200 mil woodcutting whenever I do that, so I guess that's cool. But side note right there. But anyway, so the Amulet of Torture has 5 higher melee accuracy stat and 2 higher melee strength than the Fury, and 3 less prayer bonus and no defense bonuses. But I'm about to try out using this amulet in Nightmare Zone and also trying out a new Nightmare Zone setup, which is more the focus of this video than the amulet, but I figured I may as well get it for having max gear in there. So basically a guy on Reddit messaged me, and I'm not sure if he wants his name to be known, so I won't say it right away, but I'll give him credit if he wants to have it. But yeah, this is not my original idea. I did not discover this myself, but there are 4 monsters that I know of anyways that give, or that I now know of, that give increased experience over the normal amount that you'd get for melee. Normally the way it works is you get 5.33 melee XP per, or total combat XP, my bad, per 1 damage you deal, and 4 of that experience goes into your melee stat that you're training, and 1.3 repeating goes into your hit points. And if you're training uncontrolled, then every single one of those 4 stats gets 1.3 experience. So that's the case for almost every monster in RuneScape that you can kill, but there are certain monsters that for some reason give more experience than that, and these are certain quest bosses, namely Moss Giant, Dad, Arg, and the Ice Troll King. There may be others, but I haven't heard about it yet, but it probably would be worth testing out some of the other ones, but all of these are fairly straightforward monsters. Dad does have a knockback, which is kind of annoying, but it's not too much of a hindrance. You just have to pay a bit more attention. All of them attack with more than one combat style other than Dad, so it's only good for using those absorptions. If you're using overhead prayers, then you'll probably take a lot of damage and it won't be sustainable, so you will have to pay a bit more attention. But as far as the XP increase, it's quite significant, and I'm about to show you guys. I did do a practice run, and I'm going to do another one a little bit more optimized inventory and gear-wise and stuff. So Arg the monster has a 17.5% increase in experience given for every damage you deal. The Ice Troll King has a 12.5%, Dad has 10%, and the Moss Giant has 7.5%. So all of those are pretty significant, and we're going to see exactly what kind of XP per hour I get. I'm wearing max melee, or full Derex and max strength gear, and I do have max stats and everything, so keep that in mind. This is basically the highest possible that you can get as far as I know. I'm not going to try out anything with Dragon 2H specs, though I've heard that those might be good, but I don't exactly know how to get those arranged right, so I'll be using the G-Maul for power surges, and I took the Bone Crusher just to see how much prayer XP you get, because a lot of these do drop big bones. Oh, and one other thing to mention is that you have to have a 5th monster in there in order to be able to start a dream. The first time I did the Khazard Warlord, the second time I did me. I chose me because it has the lowest hit points of any monster that is reasonable to kill in there, and I figured the less damage I have to deal against a monster giving the normal amount of XP, the better. But my rate over a fairly reasonable amount of time didn't really seem to be any different between the two, so it's really up to you which one, but I was using me in this one, which kind of is annoying because he does spam the chat box, but yeah. For anyone unfamiliar with Nightmare Zone Darrocking, the basic idea is that you get your hit points down to 1 by first overloading and then taking Guzzle on the Dwarven Rock Cake until you get your hit points down to 1. And then after that you use the Rapid Heal Prayer. You flick it on and off once per minute, and that way it'll keep your hit points at 1 indefinitely. So one very useful tool I found on YouTube is just a 50-second interval timer video, so every 50 seconds it beeps, and that way it's an easy way to make sure that you always get your rapid heal flick, because if you don't, then it will your hit points will regenerate and you won't be able to easily reduce them again, and that makes it so you're taking more damage against your absorption potions and also dealing slightly less DPS, because the lower your hit points are with Derex, the higher damage you deal. So it's very important to keep your hit points at 1 and pay some attention for that. It's not nearly as AFK as other Nightmare Zone methods, but it's really fast XP and still not extremely difficult. You don't have to pay a huge amount of attention. So I brought 3 overloads, which is enough to last for an hour, and it seems like unless you prayer flick, you won't be able to last much more than an hour in there if you're wearing this setup with not very much prayer bonus as it is. So yeah, this ratio of potions worked out pretty well. I partway through the dream did get my hit points up to 2, unfortunately, but something that's can be a bit difficult to avoid unless you're really staying quite focused. But yeah, that happened, and it really just makes it so that you take a little bit more damage. I don't know if it has any kind of significant effect on DPS or any effect at all, but it didn't really seem to change my XP per hour too much. So for the first bit, my XP per hour seemed a little bit lower than in my first test, and as time went on, I got a lot of power surges throughout this hour, which definitely helped to bump up my XP per hour. But I don't think I got too many at the beginning, so it might have been kind of even overall. But basically you get a power up every, I think, 2 minutes, and there are 4 different types, so it's 1 in 4 chance of it being a power surge. So if you get 30 power ups per hour, then a quarter of those are power surges, so you expect to get like 7.5, I think that would be, power surges per hour on average, and I probably got somewhere between 7 and 10, so I think it was pretty standard. And the Gmaul specs are definitely very high DPS when you have the power surge on. The only thing that you really have to pay attention for is when you're killing Dad, because at any time he can do the knockback attack and you have to click back on him in order to not lose ticks. Sometimes when he hits you, he will cause you to lose ticks, because if he knocks you back right before you're about to hit with your axe, then it will take a few ticks to get back to him, but it's worth it for the increased XP that you get for him. You just have to pay a bit more attention. But over the entire hour, I averaged just shy of 160k. It was 156k, and it got as high as 160k for a bit after I got several power surges in a row. So yeah, that's insane. I mean, beforehand, the highest I knew melee could get was maybe 125, 130k using Darox, and killing these monsters, that's a huge increase. That's, what, like a 20 or 30% increase in XP per hour, which is insane. So this is definitely a big breakthrough. I haven't heard anybody talk about this other than that guy who I found through Reddit comments and then was PMing me. So maybe I'm just living under a rock and other people know about this, but I've never heard about this. So this is a pretty big deal, and I guess one thing is that I have mentioned a few times that gargoyles are actually efficient if you bludgeon them, but if this is the EHP rate for melee, that's definitely no longer the case, because gargoyles are like 120k strength, and if this is 155k, then yeah, you're better off not doing gargoyles. So I'll put those back on my block list, I believe, and this is pretty much the new meta for melee training. It's the same idea as before, just killing these specific monsters. So this is pretty interesting. I guess I wouldn't be surprised if Jagex reduces the XP gain from these monsters back to normal, because I don't really know why it's like this. I mean, before Nightmare Zone, you just kill these monsters once for a quest, and that's it, so I don't know why they would give extra experience. Oftentimes quest monsters give no experience, such as a lot of the ones in Monkey Madness 2. But yeah, I guess take advantage of this while it's here. I don't know if it will be nerfed or not, but it's very high XP per hour in melee, and it's definitely a pretty significant breakthrough. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Feel free to drop a like, and I will see you guys later on with more videos.